Amara's legs gave out. She tried to stand, tried to push herself up from the bed, but her body refused to obey. Her hands grabbed the silk sheets, fingers shaking, knuckles turning white. Everything hurt. Her back, her legs, her arms, even breathing felt hard. She had been married for only 4 days. 4 days. But it felt like 4 years. I can't walk, she whispered to the empty bedroom. The room was beautiful. Big windows, soft lights, expensive furniture. But right now it felt like a prison. She looked at the door. It was closed, locked from the outside. She heard the click last night after he left. That sound, that small metal click, it made her heart race with fear every single time. The door suddenly opened. Dae-Hyun stood there, wearing a perfect black suit. His dark hair perfectly styled. His face calm and unreadable. He looked at her struggling on the bed, trying to stand, and something changed in his eyes. Something that looked almost like guilt. "Did I hurt you?" he asked quietly, his voice soft but careful. "Don't," Amara cut him off, finally managing to pull herself to her feet. Her legs wobbled. She held onto the bedpost to stay standing. "Just tell me why. Why did 4 wives before me run away? Why does this bedroom have locks on the outside? Why does everyone in this house look at me like I'm already dead?" He stepped closer. She wanted to step back, but her legs were too weak. And then she saw it. He looked tired too. His eyes had dark circles under them. His perfect face looked stressed, scared, ashamed. "Because I'm not normal," he said quietly, looking down at the floor. "And by the time you understand what that really means, it will be too late for you to leave." Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Your support means everything, and we'd love to know which country you're tuning in from. Now let's go back to where this all started. 3 weeks earlier, Amara sat in a small office in Lagos, Nigeria. The air conditioning was broken, and sweat dripped down her back. A woman with too much makeup and a fake smile sat across from her, pushing papers across the old wooden desk. "This contract will save your family," the woman said, her smile growing wider. "Mr. Kong Dae-Hyun is very, very rich. He owns Phoenix Biotech in South Korea. He's a CEO. Young, handsome, successful. The contract includes everything. All of your mother's hospital bills will be paid. Your little brother Samuel can go to university. You'll get money every month. Beautiful house. A new life." Amara's hands shook as she picked up the contract. It was thick, maybe 50 pages. Her mother was dying. Cancer. Stage 4. The hospital said they needed 5 million naira for treatment. Amara was just a teacher. She made barely enough to buy food each month. Samuel was only 15. He was so smart, but school fees were due and they had no money. "Why does a rich Korean CEO need a Nigerian wife?" Amara asked, flipping through the pages. "Why doesn't he marry someone from Korea? Someone rich like him?" The woman's smile got tighter. "Mr. Kong is particular. He values character over background. He wants someone humble, someone real. Someone not spoiled by money." Amara kept reading. On page 17, one sentence made her stop. She read it again. "Monthly medical evaluations required for physical stamina and health compatibility." She looked up. "What does this mean? Stamina compatibility?" "Oh, that's just standard health checks," the woman said quickly, waving her hand like it was nothing. "Mr. Kong cares very much about health. He wants to make sure you're healthy and strong. Rich people are like that. They worry about everything. Sign here and here and here." Amara stared at the paper. Something felt wrong. But then she thought about her mother crying in pain last night. She thought about Samuel sitting in the dark because they couldn't pay the electricity bill. She thought about how tired she was of being poor, of watching her family suffer. She signed her name. Amara Okonkwo. Each letter felt heavy, like she was signing away more than just her name. "Wonderful!" The woman clapped her hands. "Mr. Kong will be very pleased. The wedding is in 5 days. We'll arrange everything. Your flight, your visa, your documents. Don't worry about anything. 5 days. Amara's heart jumped. But I don't even know him. I've never seen a picture. I don't know anything about him. The woman pulled out a photograph from her desk drawer. Amara's breath caught. He was beautiful. Sharp jawline, intense dark eyes, perfect skin. He looked like the actors in Korean dramas her students were always watching. He's 31 years old. Never married. No children. He works very hard. Sometimes too hard. That's why he needs a wife. Someone to take care of him, to make his life less lonely. The woman stood up, indicating the meeting was over. Go home. Pack your things. Say goodbye to your family. Your new life starts very soon. Amara walked out of that office in a daze. The hot Lagos sun hit her face, but she felt cold inside. What had she just done? 5 days later, Amara stood in a small church in Lagos wearing a white dress she'd never seen before. It had been delivered to her house the night before, wrapped in expensive paper. Fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like someone had measured her body without her knowing. Her mother sat in a wheelchair in the front row, crying happy tears. Samuel held her hand, looking confused but hopeful. Dae-Hyun stood at the altar in a black suit. His face completely blank. No smile. No emotion. He looked at Amara like she was a business transaction, not a bride. The pastor spoke in English and broken Korean. Do you, Amara Okonkwo, take this man to be your husband? Amara's voice came out as a whisper. I do. Do you, Kong Dae-Hyun, take this woman to be your wife? I do. His voice was flat, emotionless. They didn't kiss. He just nodded at her, then turned and walked out of the church. Amara stood there, confused. Her mother wheeled herself over, grabbing Amara's hand. Thank you, my daughter, her mother cried. Thank you for saving us. You are so brave. So strong. Amara wanted to cry. But she couldn't. She felt numb. The next morning, she boarded a plane to Seoul, South Korea. First class. She'd never been on a plane before. Everything was so nice, so expensive. The flight attendants treated her like she was important. But Dae-Hyun wasn't on the plane. The agency woman said he'd flown back to Korea the night of the wedding. Business matters. 16 hours later, Amara landed in Seoul. A driver was waiting for her, holding a sign with her new name. Mrs. Kong Amara. She almost didn't realize it was for her. Mrs. Kong. She wasn't Okonkwo anymore. She wasn't even Amara anymore. She was just his. The drive from the airport took 2 hours. They left the city behind, driving into mountains covered in dark green trees. The road got narrower, more isolated. No other cars. No houses. Just trees and silence. Finally they arrived at a gate. Huge black metal gate with cameras everywhere. It opened slowly, and Amara's stomach dropped. The house. No, it wasn't a house. It was a mansion. Maybe the biggest building she'd ever seen. Black stone, huge windows surrounded by forest. It looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The car stopped at the front entrance. A woman stood there waiting. She was older, maybe 60, wearing a traditional Korean hanbok. Her face was hard, her eyes cold. Mrs. Kong, the woman said in English with a thick Korean accent. She didn't smile. She bowed, but it felt empty, like she was forced to do it. I am Mrs. Cho. I manage this house. Your room is ready. Follow me. Amara followed her inside. The mansion was even bigger inside than outside. Everything was white marble and dark wood. Expensive paintings on the walls. Huge chandeliers. But it was so quiet. Too quiet. No sounds of people, no music, nothing. Just their footsteps echoing. They went up a wide staircase to the second floor. Mrs. Cho opened a door. This is your room. The room was beautiful. Huge bed, silk sheets. A bathroom bigger than Amara's entire house in Lagos. But something felt wrong. Amara walked to the window. Bars. Hidden behind pretty curtains, but definitely bars. Where is my husband? Amara asked, turning around. Mr. Kong. Mrs. Cho's face stayed blank. Master Kong works very late. He will see you when appropriate. Do not leave this room at night. Do not go to the basement. Do not disturb Master Kong when he is working. Dinner will be brought to you at 7 o'clock. Wait, I can't leave my room. I can't see my own husband. Mrs. Cho walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned and looked at Amara with something in her eyes. Was it pity? Fear? Mrs. Kong, some advice. When Master Kong finally comes to you, do not resist. Do not fight. It will be easier if you just accept. Then she left, closing the door behind her. Amara heard a sound that made her blood run cold. Blick. The door had locked. From the outside. She ran to the door, pulling the handle. It wouldn't open. She was locked in. Trap. Hello, she shouted, banging on the door. Mrs. Cho. Let me out. Why am I locked in? No answer. Just silence. Amara's heart raced. She looked around the beautiful room. This wasn't a bedroom. This was a cage. Pretty expensive cage. She went to the walls, pressing her hands against them. They felt strange. Padded under the expensive wallpaper. Why would walls need padding? Unless they needed to be soundproof. She sat on the bed, her whole body shaking. What had she done? What kind of man locks his wife in a room? What kind of marriage was this? Night came. No one brought dinner like Mrs. Cho promised. Amara's stomach hurt from hunger and fear. She tried to sleep, but every sound made her jump. At midnight, she heard footsteps in the hallway outside her door. Slow, heavy footsteps. They stopped right outside her door. She held her breath, staring at the door. The footsteps stayed there for a long time. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Then, finally they walked away. This happened for 3 nights. Footsteps at midnight. Stopping at her door. Ping. Then leaving. On the 3rd night, Amara couldn't take it anymore. She was hungry, scared, and angry. When she heard the footsteps, she jumped out of bed and ran to the door. I know you're out there, she shouted. I know you're listening. If you're my husband, why are you hiding? Why am I locked in here like a prisoner? The footsteps stopped. Then she heard a voice. Deep, tired, sad. Go to sleep, Amara. Please. No. Let me out. Talk to me. Why did you marry me if you won't even look at me? Silence. Then. I'm trying to protect you. Protect me from what? More silence. Then the footsteps walked away, faster this time, almost running. On the 4th night, Amara was done being afraid. When she heard the footsteps stop outside her door at midnight, she didn't yell. She spoke softly. I'm not sleeping. I know you're listening. My name is Amara. I'm 24 years old. I was a teacher in Lagos. I like reading books and cooking jollof rice. I married you to save my mother's life. I don't know who you are, but I'm your wife now. And I don't want to be locked in this room anymore. She waited. The footsteps didn't move. Then she heard that same voice, but closer now, like he was leaning against the door. I'm Dae-Hyun. I'm 31. I run a biotech company. I don't like many things anymore. I married you because I thought maybe you could save my life too. Amara's heart beat faster. Then let me out. Let me see you. Not yet. Why? Because once I let you out, once I see you, once I touch you. His voice broke. Once I start, I won't be able to stop. And I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to run away like the others. The others. Amara's blood went cold. How many others? No answer. The footsteps walked away. The next morning Mrs. Cho opened the door. Master Kong requests that you join him for breakfast. Finally. Amara quickly got dressed in one of the many expensive dresses hanging in the closet. She followed Mrs. Cho downstairs to a huge dining room. A long table with dozens of chairs. And at the end, sitting alone, was Dae-Hyun. He looked even more handsome than his photo. But also tired. Dark circles under his eyes. His hands were shaking slightly as he held his coffee cup. He looked up when she entered, and their eyes met. Amara felt something strange, furious, but also something else. He looked at her like a starving man looks at food, like a dying man looks at water. Desperate, hungry, dangerous. Sit, he said, his voice rough. She sat at the opposite end of the table, far from him. A maid brought food. Eggs, rice, soup, fruit. Traditional Korean breakfast. Amara was so hungry she wanted to eat everything, but her hands shook too much to hold the chopsticks properly. You're afraid of me, Dae-Hyun said, watching her. Should I be? He smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Yes. Then why did you marry me? Because I'm selfish. Because I'm desperate. Because I need. He stopped, closing his eyes. Your food. You'll need your strength. For what? He opened his eyes, and the look in them made Amara's whole body tense. For tonight. What happens tonight? Tonight, I stop being a gentleman. Before Amara could respond, Dae-Hyun stood up and left the room, walking so fast he was almost running. She sat there alone, her appetite completely gone. What did he mean? What happens tonight? Mrs. Cho appeared at her side. Come, Mrs. Kong. You have a visitor. A visitor. Who could possibly visit her here? Mrs. Cho led her to a small medical room Amara hadn't seen before. Inside was a man in a white doctor's coat, setting up medical equipment. Mrs. Kong, I'm Dr. Park, he said in perfect English. I need to examine you. Standard health evaluation. Standard for what? Amara asked, her stomach twisting with fear. Dr. Park looked uncomfortable. He pulled out a blood pressure cuff, a stethoscope, and then a large case of pills and supplements. Mrs. Kong, has anyone explained to you about your husband's condition? Condition? What condition? Is he sick? Dr. Park sat down heavily, like he was very tired. 6 years ago, Mr. Kong was developing experimental drugs for his company. Stamina enhancement drugs for soldiers and athletes. He tested them on himself. The drugs worked too well. They changed his body chemistry permanently. The side effects are extreme. Amara's hands went cold. What kind of side effects? Extreme physical hunger. Not for food. For intimacy. His body needs it constantly. Without it he can't sleep. He gets sick. His mind becomes unstable. It's like an addiction he can't control. The drugs change something in his brain, in his body. It's permanent. Amara felt like she couldn't breathe. And his previous wives. Dr. Park looked away. 4 wives before you. The first lasted 3 weeks. The second 2 months. The third 1 month. The fourth only 2 weeks. They all left. Their bodies couldn't handle the constant demands. Some had to be hospitalized. And you want me to? You expect me to? Amara stood up, backing away. Well, no, I'm leaving. I'm going home. I don't care about the money, about the contract. This is insane. Mrs. Kong, please listen. These supplements will help. They'll give you energy, help your body recover faster, make the experience less painful. Without them, your body will break down within days. I want to leave. You can't. Dr. Park's voice was gentle but firm. The contract you signed, it's legally binding for 2 years. If you try to leave, your family loses everything. The medical treatment for your mother stops immediately. Your brother's school fees become your responsibility again. And there's a penalty clause. Your family would owe the company 500 million won. About $2 million. Amara collapsed into the chair. She was trapped. Truly, completely trapped. So I'm what? Medicine. A prescription for his addiction. You're his last chance, Dr. Park said sadly. If this doesn't work, if you leave like the others, the company board will force him into experimental treatment. Brain surgery. It might help, but it might also kill him. You're the last option before they try something that could end his life. Amara wanted to cry, to scream, to run. But she couldn't. She thought about her mother, finally getting treatment, finally not crying from pain. She thought about Samuel, excited about university. She thought about her family eating good food, living in a real house, not worrying about money anymore. She had sold herself. And now she had to pay the price. "Give me the supplements," she whispered. That night, Amara waited in her room. She took the pills Dr. Park gave her. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. At midnight, she heard the footsteps again. But this time they didn't stop outside her door. The door opened. Dae-Hyun stood there, still wearing his work clothes, but his tie was loose, his shirt partially unbuttoned. He looked at her with those desperate, hungry eyes. "Last chance," he said, his voice shaking. "Tell me to leave now, and I will. I'll try to control it for one more night. But if I come in, if I touch you, I won't stop. Can't stop. So choose now, Amara. Tell me to go." Amara looked at this man, this stranger who was her husband. She saw the hunger in his eyes, but she also saw the shame, the fear, the loneliness. He didn't want to be a monster. But he couldn't help it. She thought about running, about screaming, about fighting. But she also thought about her mother, her brother, her family. And she thought about Dae-Hyun, a man who had destroyed himself with his own experiments, who was trapped in his own body, his own needs. "Come in," she whispered. Something broke in him. He crossed the room so fast Amara gasped. His hands grabbed her waist, pulling her up. His eyes burning into hers with an intensity that was terrifying and mesmerizing at the same time. "I'm sorry," he whispered against her neck. "I'm so sorry." Then he carried her to the bed, and Amara understood. This wasn't romance. This wasn't love. This was survival. For both of them. The sun rose, painting the room in soft golden light. Amara woke up alone. Her body hurt everywhere. She tried to move and gasped from the pain. Everything ached. Her back, her legs, her arms. She felt like she'd been hit by a car. She tried to sit up. Her legs wouldn't work properly. She tried to stand. Her knees buckled and she fell back onto the bed. Panic started to rise in her chest. What had he done to her? What was wrong with her body? The door opened. Dae-Hyun stood there in a fresh suit, looking perfectly normal. He looked at her struggling on the bed, and something crossed his face. "Guilt. Shame. Pain. Did I hurt you?" he asked quietly. "Don't," Amara said, finally managing to pull herself up, holding on to the bedpost. "Just tell me why. Why did 4 wives before me run away? Why does this room have locks on the outside? Why does everyone look at me like I'm already dead?" He stepped closer and she saw it then. The exhaustion that matched hers. The desperation. The shame that was eating him alive. "Because I'm not normal," he said quietly. "And by the time you figure out what that means, it'll be too late to leave." He turned and walked out, closing the door behind him. Blick. Lock. Amara was alone again. She looked down at her shaking hands, at her weak legs, at her body that felt like it belonged to someone else now. 4 wives had run away. 4 women had tried and failed. Dr. Park said they had to be hospitalized. Now Amara understood why. This wasn't a marriage. This was endurance. This was survival. And she had 364 more days to go before the contract ended. 364 more nights. She started to cry. Amara spent the next 3 days in bed. Not because she wanted to, but because her body simply wouldn't work. Mrs. Cho brought food 3 times a day, setting the trays down without speaking, without looking at Amara's face. Dr. Park came every morning to check her vital signs, give her more supplements, more pills. "Your body is adjusting," he said on the 3rd day. His voice clinical and detached. "The supplements are working. By tomorrow, you should be able to walk normally again." "Adjusting," Amara repeated bitterly. "My body is adjusting to being destroyed every night." Dr. Park packed his medical bag, not meeting her eyes. "Mrs. Kong, I know this is difficult. But you're doing better than the others. The first wife couldn't walk for a full week after the first night. The second wife had to be put on 4 fluids. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Broken things can heal. That's what the supplements are for. After he left, Amara forced herself to stand. Her legs shook, but they held her weight. She walked slowly to the bathroom, holding onto the walls. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Dark circles under her eyes. Her skin looked pale, drained. Her lips were chapped. She looked sick. But she was alive. That had to count for something. That night, the footsteps came again at midnight. Amara's whole body tensed. The door opened. Dae-Hyun stood there, and she saw it immediately. He looked worse than before. His eyes were wild, desperate. His hands were shaking. He was fighting himself, fighting the hunger inside him. I tried to stay away, he said, his voice rough and broken. I tried to give you time to heal. But I can't. Can't think. I can't work. I can't sleep. All I can think about is you. Sorry. I'm so sorry. He crossed the room and Amara closed her eyes. She had learned something over the past 3 nights. Fighting made it worse. Crying made it longer. Resistance made him more desperate, more intense. So she had learned to just disappear inside her own mind. To go somewhere else while her body stayed here. When morning came, she woke up alone again. Her body hurt but not as badly as before. The supplements were working. Her body was learning. Adapting. Surviving. She got up slowly, got dressed in a simple dress, and decided she wasn't going to stay in this room anymore. Contract or no contract, she was still a human being. She needed to see the sun, breathe fresh air, remember who she was. He tried the door. It was unlocked. Her heart jumped. She opened it carefully, peeking into the hallway. Me. She stepped out, her bare feet silent on the cold marble floor. The mansion was massive. She walked down the hallway, passing door after door. Some were locked. Some were open, revealing empty guest rooms, a library with thousands of books, a music room with a piano covered in dust. Everything was beautiful and untouched, like a museum where no one lived. She found the stairs and went down to the first floor. The morning sunlight streamed through the huge windows. She could see the forest outside, the mountains in the distance. It was beautiful. But the windows had bars, just like in her room. Hidden behind elegant curtains, but definitely there. Mrs. Kong. Amara jumped, spinning around. Mrs. Cho stood behind her, her face expressionless as always. You should not be wandering the house, Mrs. Cho said. Master Kong does not like disruptions to his routine. I'm his wife, not his prisoner, Amara said, finding courage she didn't know she had. I want to see the house. I want to go outside. I want to live like a normal person. Something flickered in Mrs. Cho's eyes. Surprise maybe. Or respect. Master Kong is in his office. He works until 6 o'clock every evening. You may explore the house during the day, but you must not go to the basement, and you must not disturb him while he works. Why can't I go to the basement? Mrs. Cho's face went hard. Because that is where the previous wives stayed when they couldn't handle it anymore. Master Kong had rooms built down there. Safe rooms. Padded walls. Strong locks. For their protection and his. Amara's blood went cold. Safe rooms. You mean prison cells. Call them what you wish. Just do not go there. And do not make Master Kong lock you in one. Mrs. Cho turned to leave, then stopped. Mrs. Kong, some advice. Master Kong is not a bad man. He did not choose this. The drugs, the hunger, the desperation. He hates it more than you do. He hates himself for what he's become. If you show him kindness, even small kindness, it will help him. It will help both of you. Then she left, her footsteps echoing down the hall. Amara stood there, processing this information. Dae-Hyun hated himself. He didn't want to be this way. He was as much a victim as she was. But knowing that didn't make her body hurt less. Didn't make the fear go away. She spent the day exploring. She found the kitchen huge and modern, The chef, a quiet man named Mr. Kim, barely spoke but nodded when she entered. She found a garden in the back, surrounded by high walls. Beautiful flowers, a small pond, stone benches. She sat there for hours, letting the sun warm her face, trying to remember what normal felt like. At 6 o'clock she went back inside. Mrs. Cho had told her that Dae-Hyun had dinner in the dining room every evening at 7. Amara decided to join him. If they were going to survive this marriage, they needed to at least try to talk to understand each other. She dressed carefully in a nice dress, brushed her hair, put on lipstick. She looked in the mirror. She looked more like herself again, less like a victim. At 7 o'clock, she walked into the dining room. Dae-Hyun was already there, sitting at the head of the long table. He looked up when she entered, surprise clear on his face. "You came," he said. "You're my husband. Why wouldn't I have dinner with you?" Amara sat down, not at the far end this time but closer, only 3 seats away from him. He stared at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "The others never came to dinner. They stayed in their rooms. They avoided me during the day. I'm not the others." Something changed in his expression. Hope maybe. Or fear. "No. You're not." Dinner was served. Traditional Korean food. Amara had learned to use chopsticks over the past week, though she wasn't very good at it. She ate slowly, watching Dae-Hyun from the corner of her eye. He barely touched his food. He just watched her, his eyes following every movement she made. "You're staring," Amara said finally. "I know. Sorry. Just... You're here. You're not hiding. You're not crying. I don't understand." "What's there to understand? I signed a contract. I made a choice. Now I have to live with it. Hiding won't change anything. Crying won't make it easier." Amara set down her chopsticks. "Dr. Park told me about the experimental drugs. About what they did to you. About the previous wives." Dae-Hyun's face went pale. "Then you know what a monster I am." "You're not a monster. You made a mistake. A terrible mistake, but still just a mistake. You didn't know the drugs would do this to you. I should have been more careful. I should have tested them properly. I was arrogant. I thought I was smart enough, careful enough. And now..." He closed his eyes. "Now I've destroyed 4 women's lives. And now I'm destroying yours." Amara felt something unexpected. Pity. This man sitting across from her wasn't a villain. He was just broken. "Tell me about them. Previous wives. What were they like?" Dae-Hyun opened his eyes, surprised. "You want to know? If I'm going to survive what they couldn't, I need to understand what went wrong." He was quiet for a long moment, then started talking. "The first wife was Minji. She was Korean, from a good family. Beautiful, educated. She lasted 3 weeks. She tried so hard to be strong, to endure. But every night, I saw the fear in her eyes grow. On the last night she started screaming. She couldn't stop screaming. I had to call Dr. Park to sedate her. Her family took her away the next morning. I paid them a lot of money to stay quiet." Amara's stomach twisted, but she kept her face calm. "And the second? Elena. She was Russian. Model. She thought she could handle it because she was strong, athletic. She lasted 2 months. But her body started breaking down. She lost weight rapidly. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep during the day because she was too traumatized. One morning I found her in the bathroom. She had taken all of Dr. Park's sleeping pills. We got her to the hospital in time, but her family threatened to sue. I paid them too." The third? Yuki. Japanese. She was different. She didn't fight it. She just gave up. Stopped eating, stopped talking. She became like a doll. Me. After 1 month, her sister came and took her home. Last I heard, she's in a psychiatric facility in Tokyo. And the fourth? Dae-Hyun's voice broke. Sarah. She was American. Young, only 22. She reminded me of who I used to be before the drugs. Optimistic. Full of life. She lasted 2 weeks. On the last night she fought back. She hit me, scratched me, tried to run. I was so far gone in the hunger that I didn't realize how hard I was holding her. I bruised her ribs, her arms. When I finally came back to myself and saw what I'd done, he put his head in his hands. She left the next morning. She wouldn't even look at me. I transferred $5 million to her account. Blood money. The dining room was silent except for the sound of their breathing. Amara felt tears on her cheeks, but she wasn't sure if she was crying for the previous wives, or for Dae-Hyun, or for herself. "Why didn't you stop?" she asked. "After the first wife left, why did you marry again? Why not just live alone?" "Because I can't." His voice was desperate. "Without regular intimacy, my body starts shutting down. I get fevers, hallucinations. My heart rate becomes irregular. Dr. Park says my brain chemistry is so damaged that it's like being addicted to a drug you can never quit." The company tried to find solutions. Different medications, therapy, even hiring professionals. But nothing worked. Has to be consistent. Has to be the same person. My body somehow bonds to one person, and then it needs that specific person. Marriage was the only legal, ethical solution they could find. "Ethical?" Amara repeated bitterly. "There's nothing ethical about this." "I know. That's why I chose someone who needed the money desperately enough to stay. Someone who had too much to lose by leaving. I thought." He looked at her with such pain in his eyes. "I thought if I chose someone strong, someone with everything at stake, maybe they could survive me. Maybe I could finally have something close to a normal life. But all I've done is trap you in hell." Amara wiped her tears. She wanted to hate him. It would be so much easier to hate him. But looking at this broken man, this victim of his own ambition, she couldn't. "Tell me something. During the day when you're working, are you normal? Does the hunger control you all the time?" "No. During the day I can function. Can think, work, be myself. The hunger is there, always present, but manageable. It's only at night that it becomes overwhelming. It's like being two different people. During the day I'm Kong Dae-Hyun, CEO scientist. At night I become something else. Something I can't control. Then during the day, can we try to be normal? Can we try to be husband and wife without the hunger, without the fear?" He looked at her like she'd just offered him salvation. "You would want that? After everything?" "I don't know what I want. But I know I can't survive if every moment of my life is about fear and pain. I need something else. Something human. Even if it's just a few hours a day." Dae-Hyun stood up suddenly, walked around the table, and knelt beside her chair. He took her hand gently like she was made of glass. His touch was so different from at night. Careful. Tender. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not running. Thank you for trying. I don't deserve your kindness, but I'll take it. I'll treasure it." Amara looked down at this powerful CEO, this wealthy man, kneeling at her feet like a beggar. She realized something important. They were both prisoners. Him in his broken body. Her in a contract she couldn't escape. Maybe together they could find a way to make this prison bearable. "Get up," she said softly. "Husbands don't kneel to their wives. We're supposed to be equals." He stood slowly, still holding her hand. "Equals. I like that." They finished dinner talking about small things. He told her about his company, the research they were doing on medical treatments. She told him about her life in Lagos, about teaching English to rowdy teenagers, about her mother's courage during her illness, about Samuel's dreams of becoming an engineer. For a few hours they were just two people getting to know each other. And Amara felt something she hadn't felt since arriving in Korea. Tiny spark of hope. But at 11:30 she saw it happen. Dae-Hyun's eyes changed. His hands started shaking. His breathing got faster. The hunger was waking up. "You should go to your room," he said, his voice getting rough. "It's starting." Amara stood up. She could run. She could lock herself in her room and make him break down the door like an animal. Or she could accept this reality and try to maintain whatever dignity she had left. "I'll go," she said. "But Dae-Hyun, during the day you're my husband. At night you're something else. I need to separate those two people in my mind. Can you understand that?" "Yes," he whispered. "I understand. Because I have to do the same thing." She walked to her room, her heart pounding. She took the supplements Dr. Park had left. She got into bed. She closed her eyes and went to that place in her mind where the fear couldn't reach her. At midnight the door opened. And the night version of Dae-Hyun entered. The version controlled by hunger, by need, by the drugs that had destroyed his normal life. Amara had learned to survive by splitting herself too. Day Amara was the wife. Night Amara was just a body fulfilling a function. Two different people just like him. It was the only way to stay sane. Days turned into weeks. Amara fell into a routine. Wake up exhausted. Take supplements. Eat breakfast. Explore the mansion or sit in the garden. Have lunch. Read books from the library. Have dinner with Dae-Hyun. Talk like normal people. Then 11:30 would come, and she would go to her room. Midnight would come and he would follow. Morning would come and she would be alone again. She started learning Korean from Mrs. Cho. She started helping Mr. Kim in the kitchen, learning to make Korean dishes. She started playing the dusty piano in the music room. She was building a life inside her cage. One afternoon, 3 weeks after she'd arrived, she found a photograph album in the library. She opened it curious. The first pages showed a young Dae-Hyun, maybe in his early 20s. He was smiling in the photos. Really smiling. Playing soccer with friends. Graduating from university. Giving a presentation at a conference. He looked so different. Happy. Alive. Normal. Then the photos changed. His face got harder. His smile disappeared. The photos showed him in laboratories, working late at night. Then there were photos of him with the previous wives. Minji looked terrified even in the wedding photo. Elena looked confident but uncomfortable. Yuki looked resigned. Sarah looked so young, so scared. "You found it." Amara jumped. Dae-Hyun stood in the doorway. It was 4 in the afternoon. He never left his office before 6. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snoop. I was just looking for something to read and found this." He walked in, sitting in the chair across from her. "It's okay. Those photos are from before. Before I destroyed everything." Amara looked at the young man in the early photos. "You looked happy." "I was. I loved my work. Had friends. Had dreams. I was going to change the world with my research. I was going to create drugs that would help soldiers recover from injuries faster. Help athletes perform better safely. I thought I was doing something good. What happened? I was impatient. The trials were taking too long. I had investors pressuring me for results. I thought I had calculated everything perfectly. The dosage, the timing, the chemical interactions. I tested it on myself first because I didn't want to risk anyone else." He laughed bitterly. "How noble of me. I injected myself with the drug on a Friday evening. By Sunday morning, I knew something was very wrong. What did it feel like? At first, incredible. I felt strong, energized, focused. I didn't sleep for 3 days and felt perfectly fine. I worked non-stop. I thought it was perfect. Then the hunger started. Not for food. For connection. Physical connection. It was like every nerve in my body was on fire. I went to Dr. Park. He ran tests. The drug had altered my neurochemistry permanently. My dopamine and oxytocin production had gone haywire. My body now needed physical intimacy the way a normal body needs food and water. Without it, I start dying slowly. Couldn't they reverse it? Some kind of treatment. They tried. For 2 years they tried everything. Different medications, hormone therapy, even experimental brain procedures. Nothing worked. The changes were too deep, too complete. I am permanently altered. This is my life now. This hunger, this need, forever. Amara closed the photo album. She looked at this man who had accidentally turned himself into something he never wanted to be. "Do you ever wish you could go back to before?" Every single day. Every single hour. When I'm working during the day, sometimes I forget for a few minutes. I get lost in my research, and for those brief moments, I'm normal again. Then the clock moves closer to night, and I remember. And I hate myself all over again. The previous wives, did you talk to them like this? During the day? No. They were too afraid. They avoided me completely during the day. They ate in their rooms, stayed locked in their quarters. I don't blame them. But it made it worse. Made me feel more like a monster. You're the first one who's tried to see me as human. Maybe because I need to see you as human. If you're just a monster, then I'm just a victim. But if you're human, if we're both human, then maybe we can find a way to survive this together. Dae-Hyun reached across and took her hand. His touch was gentle, nothing like at night. You're remarkable, Amara. Stronger than anyone I've ever met. I don't know how you do it. How you wake up every morning and choose to keep living, keep trying. I think about my mother. About Samuel. About the life they have now because of my sacrifice. That gives me purpose. That makes it worthwhile. You pause. And I think about you. About that young man in the photos who was happy once. I think maybe if I survive long enough, maybe I can help you find some of that happiness again. His eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not. But I'm giving it anyway. Because the alternative is drowning in bitterness and anger. And I refuse to let this situation destroy who I am. They sat there in the library, holding hands, two damaged people trying to find humanity in an inhuman situation. And for a moment, Amara felt something she hadn't expected. Not love, not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. Maybe even the beginning of friendship. At 5:30, Dae-Hyun tensed. I should get back to work. Try to finish some things before. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Before the hunger took over. Dae-Hyun, Amara said as he stood to leave. During the day, you're trying to be good to me. Or kind. You talk to me like I'm a person. I appreciate that. I want you to know I see it. I see you trying. He looked at her with such gratitude it almost broke her heart. That means more than you know. After he left, Amara sat in the library thinking. She had been here for 3 weeks. That meant she had 97 more weeks to go. Almost 2 more years. Could she really survive that long? Could her body handle it? Could her mind handle it? She looked at the photo album again. At the smiling young man who had destroyed his life with one mistake. She thought about the 4 women who had tried and failed before her. She thought about her own strength, her own determination. She would survive. She had to. For her family. For herself. And maybe, just maybe, for Dae-Hyun too. That night followed the same pattern. Dinner at 7. Conversation about their days. Laughter over a funny story. Then 11:30 arrived. Her stomach clenched. Her heart raced. She went to her room. Took her supplements. Waited. At midnight the door opened. Dae-Hyun disappeared. Night Dae-Hyun entered. And Amara closed her eyes and went somewhere far away in her mind. The next morning, Amara woke up and couldn't move her left arm. She tried to lift it, but pain shot through her shoulder. She bit her lip to keep from crying out. She managed to sit up using her right arm. Her left arm hung uselessly at her side. Mrs. Cho came in with breakfast and saw immediately. I'll call Dr. Park. Dr. Park arrived within an hour. He examined her shoulder carefully, and his face grew grave. It's dislocated. This happens sometimes when the intensity is very high. I'll need to pop it back into place. It will hurt. Everything hurts, Amara said flatly. Just do it. The pain of him relocating her shoulder was excruciating. She screamed, unable to hold it in. When it was done, Dr. Park put her arm in a sling. You'll need to rest this arm for at least a week. No strenuous activity. And Mrs. Kong, I need to be honest with you. Your body is showing significant stress. You've lost 8 pounds in 3 weeks. Your blood pressure is elevated. You have bruises in various stages of healing all over your body. If this continues at this intensity, I'm concerned about long-term damage. Can you tell him to be gentler? Amara asked, though she already knew the answer. He doesn't have control when the hunger takes over. That's the nature of his condition. The best I can do is increase your supplements, provide pain medication, and monitor you closely. After Dr. Park left, Amara sat in her room with her arm in a sling, staring at nothing. This was her life now. Injuries. Pain. Supplements. Repeat. How had those previous wives lasted even as long as they did? How had Sarah survived 2 weeks? How had Elena survived 2 months? At 6 o'clock, there was a knock on her door. Soft, hesitant. Amara. It's me. May I come in? It's your house. You can go wherever you want. Dae-Hyun entered. He saw her arm in the sling and his face went white. Did I do that? You don't remember. I remember pieces, fragments, but not everything. Not clearly. He crossed the room and knelt beside her chair, looking at the sling with horror. I did that. I hurt you. You didn't mean to. That doesn't make it better. That makes it worse. I'm a monster who doesn't even remember his monstrosity. He put his head in his hands. Maybe I should just end this. Sell the company. Go somewhere remote. Live alone. Die alone. It's what I deserve. Amara surprised herself by reaching out with her good hand and touching his hair. It was soft, silky. You can't give up. Your research helps people. Phoenix Biotech has developed treatments for diseases. You employ hundreds of people. You can't just throw that away. I've thrown away 4 women's mental health. I'm destroying yours. What's a company compared to that? Maybe I'm stronger than you think. Maybe I can handle what they couldn't. He looked up at her, his eyes desperate and searching. Why? Why are you trying so hard to make this work? You could leave. Break the contract. I wouldn't enforce it. I wouldn't take the money back from your family. I would let you go. Would you really? He was quiet for a long moment, then slowly shook his head. No. God help me, no. I want to say I would, but I can't. I need you too much. My body needs you. At night, when the hunger takes over, nothing else exists except the need for you. And even during the day, knowing you're here, knowing you haven't run away, it's the only thing keeping me sane. So no, I wouldn't let you go. I'm too selfish, too broken, too desperate. At least he was honest. Amara appreciated that. Then we're both trapped. You in your hunger. Me in this contract. So we might as well make the best of it. How are you so strong? I'm not strong. I'm just stubborn. And I've already lost too much in my life to give up now. She thought about her father, who died when she was 12. Her older sister, who died in childbirth. Her family had survived so much loss. She could survive this too. Dae-Hyun gently took her injured arm, looking at the sling. I'll sleep in a different room tonight. You need to heal. Will that even work? Can you control the hunger for one night? I'll take double my sedatives. Might help. Might not. But I have to try. I won't risk hurting you worse. That night, Amara slept alone for the first time since her first night in the mansion. She waited at midnight, tense, expecting the door to open. But it didn't. The footsteps came and stopped outside her door like usual, but the door stayed closed. She heard something that sounded like a groan of pain, then the footsteps walked away. He was trying. Even though it hurt him, even though his body was screaming for relief, he was trying to protect her. The next morning, she found him in the dining room at breakfast. He looked terrible. Pale, sweating, shaking. Dark circles under his eyes that looked almost like bruises. You look awful, Amara said, sitting down. I feel like I'm dying, he admitted. But your arm needed rest. I can survive one night. Can you survive a week? Because Dr. Park said I need a week to heal. Dae-Hyun's face showed his internal struggle. The hunger versus his concern for her. I'll try. I'll take the maximum dose of sedatives. Work longer hours to exhaust myself. Maybe I can do it. But Amara could see he was lying to himself. She could see the desperation in his eyes. One night had nearly killed him. A week would be impossible. She made a decision. A terrible, painful decision, but the only one that made sense. What if we compromise? Order. Gentler. I'll guide you. Even with one arm, maybe I can help you stay controlled enough not to cause more injury. Amara, no. You need to heal. And you need to survive. We both do. So we find a middle ground. He looked at her like she was a saint or an angel or something too good for this cruel world. How are you real? How do you exist? I exist because I refuse to break. Now eat your breakfast. You look like you're going to pass out. That week was hard. Amara learned to navigate intimacy with one arm in a sling, learned to guide Dae-Hyun's hunger toward gentler expressions, learned to communicate even when he was mostly lost to his condition. It wasn't perfect. She still woke up exhausted every morning. But her arm healed, and she gained something valuable. A sense of agency. A sense that maybe she wasn't completely powerless in this situation. On the 7th day, Dr. Park removed her sling. Your shoulder has healed remarkably well. You're lucky. And Mrs. Kong, I have to say, I'm impressed. You've made it 4 weeks. That's longer than 3 of the previous wives. Whatever you're doing differently, it's working. After he left, Amara looked at herself in the mirror. She had lost more weight. Her face looked thinner. But her eyes looked stronger. More determined. She wasn't the scared girl who had arrived a month ago. She was becoming someone else. Someone harder. Someone who could survive anything. That afternoon, she was in the garden when she heard voices. Loud, angry voices coming from inside the house. She walked back inside and followed the sound to Dae-Hyun's office. The door was partially open. She could hear him talking to someone on speakerphone. Mother, I will not discuss this with you, Dae-Hyun said, his voice firm. You will discuss it. I'm your mother. I have a right to meet this Nigerian girl you've married. A woman's voice responded in Korean. Mrs. Cho had been teaching Amara Korean, so she could understand most of it. Her name is Amara. She is my wife. And you will not call her that Nigerian girl. Your 4th wife. Do you know how humiliating this is for our family? 4 failed marriages. People are talking, Dae-Hyun. They're saying terrible things. They're saying you're cursed, that you're dangerous, that something is very wrong with you. They're right. Something is very wrong with me. That's why I need Amara. She's helping me. She's stronger than the others. I'm coming to visit. Next week. I will meet this girl and judge for myself if she's suitable. Mother, please don't. Next week, Dae-Hyun. Prepare her. Make sure she knows how to behave in front of family. Make sure she understands her place. The call ended. Silence. Then Amara heard something crash, like Dae-Hyun had thrown something across the room. She knocked softly on the door. Come in, his voice said, tired and defeated. She entered. Papers were scattered across the floor. Coffee cup lay broken in the corner. Dae-Hyun sat at his desk, head in his hands. I heard, Amara said. Your mother is coming. I'm sorry. It was difficult. She has very strong opinions about everything. About me, about my marriages, about who is suitable for the family. She doesn't think a Nigerian teacher is suitable. She doesn't think anyone is suitable. She didn't approve of Minji because her family wasn't wealthy enough. She didn't approve of Elena because she was a foreigner. She didn't approve of Yuki because she was too weak. She didn't approve of Sarah because she was too young. She won't approve of you either, no matter what you do or say. Amara sat down across from him. Then I won't try to get her approval. I'll just be myself. If that's not good enough, that's her problem, not mine. Dae-Hyun looked up, surprise on his face. You're not nervous. I'm terrified. But I've survived 4 weeks of something that broke 4 other women. I think I can survive 1 difficult mother-in-law. He laughed, a real genuine laugh. You're incredible. You know that. I'm really not. I'm just too stubborn to quit. But that night, alone in her room, Amara wasn't feeling stubborn. She was feeling scared. A difficult mother-in-law was coming. Someone who would judge her, criticize her, try to break her. Someone who had already rejected 4 previous wives. And Amara had a terrible feeling that this visit was going to change everything. Thank you so much for reading. If you're enjoying Amara's story, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. We're building a community of story lovers, and your subscription means the world to us. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment telling us what you think will happen when Dae-Hyun's mother arrives. Will she be cruel? Will she try to drive Amara away? Will Amara be strong enough to handle her? Let us know your predictions. See you in part 2.